Hi guys, so it is Friday and welcome to the first chapter Fridays that I'm trying to set up on this vlog on this channel. My name is Vuvu and this is Vuvu Vena Reads. If you are new on here, please consider pressing that red subscribe button down below and joining the family. But if you're a member of the tribe, vibing with the vibe, welcome back fam, and thank you for joining me once again. In case you were wondering what these first chapter Fridays are going to be about, it's just sampling some books. Some I would have already read, some I'm planning to read, some I've just received from publishers, some have just been sitting on my shelf for a very long time, just reading the first chapter. Obviously, if it's one of those that the first chapter is 100 pages, I'm going to cut it at some point, okay? It's not going to be the full chapter, but it's just enough of a teaser to say, would you read this book, without going into too much detail to get to the point where there might be spoilers, etc. in the book. So the book that I wanted to share right now is a book that I forgot to share in my haul that's gonna come out next week, but I'll share it in another haul, I suppose. And this is Bolu Babalola's latest book, which is Honey and Spice. This book is an arc that I got from Jonathan Ball Publishers. It officially comes out, publication date is the 21st of July 2022. If you are somebody who's been following this channel, you know that I do monthly sprints with some of my bookish sisters. So our monthly sprints will be happening next weekend, and yeah, we will be reading this book together, so we are very excited. This one has been pegged as a romance. The cover reads, Kiki and Malachi, it was a perfect explosion of sweet and savory. The back reads, the romance of the decade. Kiki, a sharp-tongued expert in relationship evasion who makes it her mission to ensure the women of Whitewell University do not fall into the mess of situationships, players, and heartbreak. Malachi, the distressingly handsome newcomer recently labeled the waste man of Whitewell, who is everything Kiki warns her fellow sisters against. Amina, producer, social media manager, and plantain chip provider, and Kiki Banjo's best friend, a tough Niger princess. She is the ride or die, confidant, and supplier of uncomfortable truths that all women need. Sweet like plantain, hot like pepper, they taste the best when together. Hashtag Honey and Spice. My book, these books have been coming out in different covers or colors of their covers. I will put some of the ones that my bookish sisters got, which are not this one, but each of these books are made for a certain character, if you get what I'm trying to say. Mine is Malachi, and that is the handsome dapper sir. So if you're interested in the first chapter of this book, do stay tuned, and happy Friday. So Vuvu Vena _reads is an amazing book reviewer, also YouTuber. She reviews books on YouTube, and if I'm not mistaken, she also has a blog as well. So please, if for your connection with literature, get in touch with or follow at VUVUVENA_reads. She is based in South Africa, and I think it is also extremely important to follow literary content creators who are based outside of the West and in continental Africa, because they do a really good job of bridging the gap.
We appreciate you, Vuvu, for bringing us Turning Pages and for bringing us your BookTube channel.
You know, this is a chance for people to actually see some people that I really enjoy.
Please consider pressing the red subscribe button down below, and if you're a returnee, welcome back fam.
Vuvu, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, so Bolu Babalola needs no introduction on this channel. I did do an actual review on her first book, which is a collection of short stories called Love in Color, which I absolutely loved. I will link that review up here. And so I was amped, I was psyched, I was having a bad day, and it turned my day into bliss when this delivery came. I was absolutely pleased. So I'm just trying to see how long chapter 1 is before I delve into this, but the font is quite huge, so I'm not complaining, child. Okay, it's all of 12 pages long, so here we go. I'm bracing myself because somebody did say the spice starts at the beginning, and Mina and Spice, no child. I believe that spice is the kind of thing that you read in your own corner, you know, in silence. You don't share it with the people, but I got myself my hand fan just in case it gets hot in here. So I got myself my hand fan. What? Just in case. Okay, here we go. Do you like that? I shifted on the bed as the 50 thread count sheets scratched against my calves. Biggie was staring down at me from across the room in 24x38 form, half peeling, half clinging to the wall with contraband, blue tack, his crown wonky. An apt display of the indignity of being stuck as a witness to everything that went down in a 20-year-old guy's uni room. My guy, not my guy, but my guy, was using my left breast as a stress ball. And okay, yeah, it was midterm, so we had a ton of assignment deadlines. But take up yoga or something, lift more at the gym, but please do not take the pressure out on my tender tit. It was day 21 on my 28-day cycle, hence why I was here. Ovulation sometimes makes decisions for you. My guy's vodka spiked breath was hot and curled around my neck, suffocating me. Above us, Biggie's eyes looked bemused, brows furrowed in concern. I feel you, Big Papa. This really wasn't as fun as I'd hoped. As fun as it used to be. The newness, the thrill had worn off and exposed the fact that my guy really had no clue what he was doing. He relied on his status at campus as campus hottie to do his work for him, trusting his squinted hazel eyes with counterfeit intensity and interest in you, the real you, ma, to do all the work for him. He didn't engage with his attraction to you because he was so sure of your attraction to him. And why bother trying to make you feel good when he assumed everything he did would automatically feel good to you? My guy had asked me a question, but he wasn't waiting for the answer. He moved to suckle on my neck aggressively, toothily, still using my boob as a distraction from the 3,000-word essay on macroeconomics he had due in about 9 hours. Honestly, why do so many guys mistake Virga for technique? Like, okay, you want me, this much is clear and frankly understandable, but what are you going to do with it? Where is the finesse, hun? The clear understanding that you are handling a masterpiece. You've got this far, appreciate it. I shimmied beneath him for a few seconds. The movements deluded him into thinking he was doing something right. He groaned and, oh, is it, babe? Until he realized I was shimmying out from under him to sit up straight, snap my bra back on, slip on my t-shirt, pull down my tan corduroy mini, and shrug on my leather jacket. It ain't, babe. Babe. His hazel eyes were soft with confusion, and bless his soul, I got it. This didn't happen to him usually. This shouldn't happen to him according to his calculations. All collegiate dating interactions were calculations, and his were him plus girl equals whatever he wanted it to equal, because look at him, for fuck's sake. How could she not want what he wanted? This abrupt change clearly took some adjusting for him, like it took some adjusting for him when he finally realized that I was the one who didn't want to be seen in public with him, who chose the hours we were together, who didn't want to sleep over. It turned his little world inside out that he wasn't the center of mine, and part of his attraction to me was fascination, exploration of the unknown, a girl who don't want to be cuffed by me safari. I untucked my braids from the back of my jacket, slipped on my boots. I hate it when you call me that. Don't call me babe. I've told you before. I moved to the mirror pinned against the wardrobe. It was smeared with antiperspirant matter that hadn't been wiped and was framed by vague sexual sounding motivational workout slogans. Rise and grind, beast mode, feel the heat. I'm disgusted actually. In case you guys couldn't tell. Okay, I stared at the mirror, then slipping out a baby wipe from my leather satchel, I wiped my lips, disinfecting them, removing the organic, locally produced lip gloss known as my guy saliva for something more fruity smelling. Look, I've been thinking. I dabbed on my lips with a doe foot wand. We should cool off with this. You know, I'm busy with uni and the show, and sneaking around has been fun, but you're ending this, Kiki? Really? I flicked my gaze from my reflection to his. Pure disbelief. Brow furrowed, pouty pink lips slightly agape. It would have been kind of cute if it wasn't based on arrogance. He was topless, his firm body panting, recovering, asking his true question, spilling the real tea. You're gonna deny this? Really? The thing is, when you make going to the gym 6 days a week your personality, it must be hurtful when it doesn't melt the knees it's supposed to. Fails to work, it's tried and true magic. But after a while, it just wasn't enough. His body wasn't much of a conversationalist. Didn't ask mine what her interests were, her favorite song, which spot was the softest. I looked at his reflection. Okay, let's be real. There was nothing really to end. There was no beginning to this. It just happened, and we kept letting it happen. And I'm glad it happened. He got up from the bed, came up behind me, and looked at himself in the mirror as he wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me against him so I could feel just how glad he was. He looked at us in the mirror. Look at how good we looked together. He removed an arm to lift my chin up as if I'd asked him for help. People respect you, people respect me. Think about how we would rule this place, baby girl. Looks and brains, light and dark. Baby girl, I have literally never seen anyone outside of nearly Naughty's BET movie speak like this in real life, and he'd gone to a boarding school in Sussex. I raised a brow. Which of us is which? He smiled, tightened his grip. He smiled, tightened his grip around my waist. See, funny too. It only took a few seconds for his gaze to flit from us to his own reflection. His bottom lip had tucked in. It was honestly like a very uncomfortable threesome where two people were way more into each other than they were you, eventually leaving you to watch them doing their thing, fascinated, I presume. My guy's eyes were still on his own. He kissed my neck, a peng power couple. I bit my lip to keep my laugh in, but by the way his grip tightened on me, I think he misread it as a sign of arousal. Oh man, I knew enough about him, enough was enough to know he was serious. This had been fun, but I was done. I unwound his arms from around my waist, his weight against me now oppressive. It was kind of disturbing how despite his heat, I wanted to shudder within my leather jacket. His room smelled of weed, Paco Rabanne, hastily sprayed to cover up the weed, and the heady, musky spore that could only be described as boy. Ew. The cocktail was making me a little queasy. I picked up the satchel, forcing his arms to drop to his side as I turned to face him. Do you want me, or do you just want me to want you? My guy kissed his teeth and groaned, ran a hand across his face impatiently. Man, for fuck's sake. See, like, here you go again, Kiki. Speaking in riddles, just be straight with me. I always am. I told you from jump what this was. Okay, I told you from jump what this was. You were cool. You said you preferred it. You do you, I do me. My guy looked at me with almost the same intensity that he'd been looking at himself in the reflection a few seconds before. He was doing it again, hoping the fact that his eyes were hazel and his skin caramel were enough to work for him. I guess it would have worked if I hadn't already bitten into him and discovered that his sexy was fake, felt the crunch. If I hadn't chosen him specifically because there was no risk of falling for him. Yeah, but maybe I didn't realize how much I'd like it when I do you. I knew how my guy thought it sounded in his head. Nami, I was wondering, hey? His voice had lowered into a purr, his eyes calculatedly heavy, constructed to elicit the image of him on top of me, his voice against my neck. It was meant to weaken me, and it had worked so many times for him, I'm sure. But I had an inbuilt resistance for that kind of bullshit. I'd been through it before, and now I had immunity. He snapped out of intoxication mode on hearing my incredulous laugh, his eyes widening, mild annoyance and confusion slipping into them. I shook my head. You haven't done me. I mean basically we've only had a few spicy cuddles. And whose fault is that? I smiled. I have to go. You're shook, and I get it, but you're different from the rest, Kiki. It isn't the same with you. You know I cancelled on Emma from Hazelwitch Hall for you tonight. I turned from my way to the door and pressed my hand against my chest. Oh, you shouldn't have, really. My guy nodded, rolled his tongue in his mouth, laughed humorlessly. Yeah, you're really kind of a bitch, you know that? I grinned. I do. Thanks though. It means a lot coming from you. If a guy like you doesn't think I'm a bitch, that means I'm fucking up somewhere. Okay, I need a drink, child. Could this be Malachi? Do you guys think this is Malachi? But I like Kiki already. This is halfway through chapter 1, and Kiki's my fighter. I like her. He laughed heartily with the energy of someone who hadn't understood a word I'd said, and went back to his bed. Reclined, abs flexing, white boxer briefs tighter than normal. It was like he had to physically remind himself that he was hot. As if he was actually capable of forgetting. Be like that, you're gonna be back. Well, if I did leave an earring, you can toss it. I never wear my good shit here. Okay, so it was a good exit line, and I was proud of it, but I'd jinxed myself as I did my ritualistic double checking of my bag. I couldn't leave any evidence of my presence. As the door to my guy's flat clicked behind me, I realized I'd left my lip gloss. Shit. Actually, it was Amina's lip gloss that she told me to look after in my bag, and I'd forgotten to return a month ago, despite the best friend bylaws stating that there is a statute of limitations in relation to makeup reclamation. I'm pretty sure she would be pissed at where I'd left it. She'd rather I'd flushed it down the toilet. After peeing on it, I couldn't have left it. I rooted for it as I absentmindedly walked towards the lift, praying that God would forgive me for recent transgressions. Did it help that my guy had a tattoo that said "In God We Trust" on his chest, in cursive, above a Tupac lyric? Real eyes, realize, realize. I wonder what Biggie made of it. I hit a very firm, warm wall, my nose squishing against the soft cotton of a slated gray shirt. Shit, my bad. Nice, cool, don't. The voice was low and smooth, thick like honey, sunk to the bottom of a tumbler of cognac. Aibo! I looked up, but not enough, because I found I'd only reached his nose. It traveled down his face narrowly and then curved out drastically, majestically. I mean, it was quite enough to look at, but I thought I'd try again. I tilted my head a little further up till I hit black quartz gazing at me, glinting. He was looking at me like he knew me. That was weird for a number of reasons, including but not limited to the fact that I knew everybody in the Black Caucus of Whitewell College. I knew each clique, subgroup and faction, and granted it was the third week of second year, so there was a bunch of new people, but even so, I flicked through my mental Rolodex of mandem and came up blank. He wasn't part of the Nigerian prince's sons of Nigerian politicians. The 4 roadmen studying pharmacy at the Red Brick University is not the same as studying, sweetie. The future shiny suits who read, a group that would include any of the above but usually studied something finance related, sought to work in the city, wanted an educated girl who knew her place, quite fine and included my guy. Nor the water into wine at the club. Nor the water into wine at the club. Bible study, boys. Nothing. Looking at his face seemed to actively contribute to my mind's blankness, which was bizarre because my mind was never blank unless made purposely so. Like when my guy was trying to talk to me about the 48 laws of power one time. He blinked and cleared his throat, even though when I heard his voice the first time, it didn't sound like it could get any clearer. Don't sweat it. Funny he should mention that, because my skin was tingling. This was intriguing. I didn't really sweat, and when I did, like the time I went on the elliptical for 2 hours while watching Baychella on my phone, it was like this, a slight prickle. I don't sweat, but thanks. I started to move past him to the lift, encouraging him to do the same towards his destination, his destiny, away from me, when he stopped suddenly, turned around, dark brows furrowed. I'm sorry, did you say you don't sweat? I cast a gaze across the hall, partly to obnoxiously demonstrate the fact that no one else could have just said that, and also to double check that nobody was coming out or coming in. I knew every black Wellian who lived on my guy's floor and timed my visit, knowing that 2 of them were at Bible study, 1 at football, and another at my friend's birthday dinner. There was nobody. I wouldn't be seen. I looked back at him, hitched a shoulder upwards. Yeah, why? He nodded, eyes squinting, concentrating, the light, the corner of his plush mouth quirking up. Sweat is a regular biological human function. Hey, this must be Malachi. What's your point? So you're saying you're not a regular human? I smiled, slid my head to the side. Do I look like a regular human to you? Trick question. He would stumble or leave. Stumble and leave. It was fun, tangling my words around their ankles without them realizing, and then watching them trip. He inhaled deeply like he was considering the question. He stepped back a little and assessed me, flicked a quick gaze down me that felt like he was striking a match against my body. Something flared under my skin. His eyes rose to meet mine again. Nah, definitely not regular. He smiled and my pulse stuttered. Just not used to seeing another superhuman around, so I had to double check. It makes me feel less lonely, so thank you. I held still. That wasn't supposed to happen. I knew this game. This game was mine, and normally I knew how to lose them. I'd expected to lose him. In fact, I'd wanted to lose him, to shake off whatever had been clinging on to me in the 2 minutes we had interacted, the gliding of energy on my skin that was making me fizz. I knew having a latte past 3 p.m. was a bad idea. I'm mad sensitive. But not only had he followed me, it was like he already knew where I was going. It was like we were going the same way. He shot me a half smile, slopping something that managed to be tiny and also had the power to elevate his face, soften the steep angles, the sharp glare of the industrial lights in the hallway, and nothing on it. It made its way to the pit of my belly and tugged. Our eyes stayed on each other for a few seconds longer as I attempted to figure out what the hell was happening. When a door clicked open somewhere in the near distance, both of us jumped as if we'd been interrupted, as if there had been anything to interrupt, and turned to the direction of what would have been disturbance, if there was anything to disturb. Faven Ishak stood in the door to flat 602. I just left flat 601. In a crop top and leggings, curls glossy and loose, cute, casual. Purposely cute and casual. Faven wasn't meant to be here. She was meant to be at her friend Nia's birthday dinner at Sakura in town. I knew this because there was a social media countdown designed to make people who weren't invited feel like they were missing out on the Groupon dinner. at a place where middle-aged men took their 25-year-old mistresses to dinner. Anyway, this was particularly interesting because Nia and Faven had recently undergone a power shift in their clique, whereby Nia had usurped Faven as Queen Bee by organizing a group trip to Barcelona to stay at her stepdad's villa over the summer while Faven was visiting family in Michigan. She could have easily reorganized it for when Faven returned, but she didn't want to do that. It was a power play, a coup, and judging from the light mascara, dab of lip gloss, and smidge of blush, I flicked my gaze over to fellow superhuman only to notice that he was holding a bottle of rosé in his hand. Something told me that Faven skipping the birthday dinner to Netflix and chill was also a power play. Faven nodded at fellow superhero, who definitely wasn't as lonely as he made out to be. Hey you, I didn't hear you knock, so thought I'd come check. Hi more. He smiled at her. It was interesting. Objectively, as a scientist, fuck biologist, and mendemologist, it was different to the smile he gave me. The smile he gave her was mainstream, pop, radio friendly. The smile he'd given me was the single released after an artist had established themselves, found their voice, could speak directly to its target audience. The smile he'd given me had more R&B to it. I know, Kiki. He walked towards the open door. Sorry, the lift took its time. Faven nodded absent-mindedly, throwing her gaze at me. Hey Kiki, what's up? Hi for Faven. She wasn't suspicious. I wasn't a threat. I was never a threat. I was known as the one who didn't date, but that was precisely why my presence there was curious. I didn't have a clique and I lived with my best friend. Went nobody for me to visit. I thought this through though. I had an alibi in a girl, not a member of the Black Caucus. I had a political communications module with and who also happened to live in flat 604. I was just picking up some notes from Ilana. I patted on my satchel. Missed a lecture today, cramps. I briefly wondered if the detail was overkill, but Faven had stopped listening halfway through my sentence anyway. A hand was already curving around fellow superhumans sturdy arm, and she was looking up at him, long lashes batting. Cool, awesome. I'm just going over a tutorial too. Can't wait for your next show. She pulled him into her flat, but not before he threw me an inscrutable look. I shook my head, smiled, and pressed the lift button. Yeah, something was gonna be studied that night. A relief, really. My understanding of fuck biology had fallen out of whack for a second. It was nice to have it reset. Whoever he was just like the rest. That was comforting. That's the end of chapter 1, and ciao. Am I ready for this book? And mainly because definitely that's Malachi, and secondly child, I'm here for Kiki, okay? Kiki, do you love me? Also, message to Malachi. This is what Malachi is gonna be saying. Kiki, do you love me? Malachi will be singing that song, child. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that first insert of First Chapter Fridays. People in this house keep opening and closing doors. I hope it didn't disturb you guys, but I hope you enjoyed that first insert of First Chapter Fridays. I was a little bit nervous. I don't like reading out loud, in case you didn't know, but it's also a challenge to myself to do that. And like I'm saying, I really hope that it was one that intrigued you. And until next time, I love you very much for choosing me. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.